Before we jump into the forgotten gear that American soldiers absolutely loved during World War II, do me a quick favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon. Here on Strange History we explore the inventions, quirks, and survival tools that shape the past in ways you won't find in any textbook. Now let's travel back to the 1940s into the muddy fields, crowded foxholes, and roaring convoys of the Second World War, to rediscover 8 pieces of U.S. military gear that soldiers swore by. To most people, the M1 helmet is just a steel shell, but to the men who wore it, it was practically a companion. Introduced in 1941, it replaced the shallow doughboy helmets from World War I and quickly became the most iconic piece of gear in American history. Soldiers used it for everything: boiling water, digging trenches, washing, shaving, and even cooking stew in a pinch. Its shape deflected shrapnel better than anything before it, and its two-piece design, a steel shell with a removable liner, made it adaptable for all weather conditions. Marines in the Pacific sometimes called it the best pot in the Army because, well, it was. The M1 wasn't just protection, it was multi-tool armor. When General George S. Patton called the M1 Garand the greatest battle implement ever devised, he wasn't exaggerating. For the first time, an army had a reliable, semi-automatic rifle as its standard weapon. While most nations still relied on bolt-action rifles that fired one shot at a time, U.S. soldiers could squeeze off 8 rounds in rapid succession, and that speed often meant survival. The distinctive metallic ping when the clip ejected became an unforgettable sound of American firepower. The Garand's accuracy, reliability, and stopping power made it beloved by infantry across every front. Even decades later, many veterans described it as an extension of their own body, rugged, trustworthy, and impossible to forget. Before 1943, U.S. uniforms were often, well, a mishmash of wool, cotton, and inconvenience. Then came the M1943 field jacket, a real masterpiece of practicality. It was long enough to cover the hips, had a detachable hood, adjustable cuffs, and these massive pockets for ammunition, rations, and even personal keepsakes. Made from wind-resistant cotton sateen, it actually shed light rain and mud, while keeping soldiers surprisingly warm. It was so successful that its design lived on for decades, influencing the Korean War M51 jacket, the Vietnam-era M65, and even modern military outerwear. Soldiers loved it because honestly, it just worked. Simple, tough, and functional. Beskansam somber runsum. It's exactly what a battlefield demanded. Food in war is never glamorous, but the C-ration became kind of legendary for its mix of frustration and fondness. Packed in sturdy cans, the rations had meat, biscuits, coffee, chocolate, and even cigarettes, all designed to survive months of storage and some pretty rough handling. Soldiers joked about the mystery meats. Ham and lima beans became infamous, but they also treasured those coffee packets, which gave warmth and caffeine on freezing mornings. And, when hunger struck, even the driest biscuit tasted like heaven. The C-ration wasn't gourmet, but it honestly kept morale alive, and every soldier had their favorite or least favorite menu. Even today, veterans can still recall the taste of canned spaghetti eaten under fire. If there's one piece of gear that blended utility with raw symbolism, it's definitely the KA-BAR fighting knife. Originally issued to the U.S. Marine Corps, this 7-inch blade became an icon of reliability. Soldiers used it for cutting rope, opening cans, digging foxholes, and, in desperate moments, close combat. The knife's full tang construction made it nearly indestructible. Marines swore it could pry open crates or even car doors without bending. The KA-BAR wasn't just a weapon, it was a tool of survival. The kind of thing you could bet your life on. Many soldiers carried theirs home after the war, engraving names or battles into the handles as keepsakes of endurance. While not official issue, the Zippo lighter became one of the most beloved personal items in a soldier's kit. It worked in wind, rain, or snow, conditions that honestly made matches useless. Beyond lighting cigarettes, soldiers used Zippos to melt wax, start campfires, or ignite fuses. The company even stopped civilian production during the war to focus entirely on supplying troops. Engraved brass cases often carried personal messages, jokes, or the names of loved ones back home. For many soldiers, that tiny spark of flame symbolized warmth, connection, and continuity in a world that often felt frozen in chaos. Marching across Europe or the Pacific meant carrying your world on your back. The M1941 field pack system, with its clever straps and modular design, allowed soldiers to adjust weight between combat and march loads. It carried everything: rations, ponchos, ammo, letters, and sometimes small treasures like harmonicas or photographs. The pack could be disassembled into upper and lower sections, letting soldiers ditch unnecessary gear in combat. What made it loved wasn't comfort, it wasn't exactly ergonomic, but durability. You could drag it through mud, drop it off a truck, or soak it in rain. It always held together. It might seem a little odd to call a vehicle a piece of gear, but for U.S. troops, the Willys MB Jeep was way more than just transport. It was freedom on four wheels, light, fast, and honestly kinda unstoppable. It could cross terrain where trucks just failed, haul supplies, tow artillery, and even mount a machine gun. Soldiers used jeeps as ambulances, communication hubs, and even makeshift recon vehicles. Its design was so perfect that, believe it or not, even enemy forces tried to copy it. Veterans often said the Jeep felt alive, bouncing over rocks and mud like it shared their stubborn will to just keep going. Eisenhower himself called it one of the four tools that won the war, right up there with the C-47 transport plane, the bazooka, and yeah, the atomic bomb. What's really remarkable about these 8 items isn't just their engineering, it's the trust they inspired. In the unpredictable chaos of war, soldiers totally clung to reliability: a rifle that fired every time, a knife that just never broke, a lighter that somehow stayed lit in a storm. These objects became, like, extensions of the men who used them, shaping habits, memories, and even survival itself. They were also deeply personal. Helmets became soup pots and, honestly, symbols of brotherhood. Zippos became engraved love letters. Even the lowly C-ration turned into a ritual of sharing and humor. In a world stripped of comfort, these items gave soldiers something to believe in, small tangible assurances that, hey, the world still made sense, one spark or sip at a time. When the war ended, a lot of veterans took these items home. They became heirlooms, stored in trunks or passed down to children, not as weapons, but as reminders of resilience. The M1 helmet sat on garage shelves, the Zippo lit campfires, and the Garand found its way to memorials and rifle clubs. Each one carried the same quiet message: in the face of chaos, simple things, well-made, dependable things, can really hold a man together. If you enjoyed this look into the gear that defined an era, go ahead and give this video a like, share it with a history lover, and subscribe for more stories of forgotten tools, unsung heroes, and the strange innovations that helped shape history. This has been Strange History. Wasri Win Marchrig Ben Bodidatnan Adander Kaw Imaridan Orinanten Wanri Datsti Wait One Proof. Of gear has a story, and every story has a heartbeat.